We'll have an overview of the 2025 bar examinations that started last Sunday and an inspiring story of how a 2024 bar passer fulfilled his dream from being a janitor to a lawyer. Good morning. I'm Attorney Karen Jimeno, and this is At the Forefront. With years of experience as a professor, reviewer, and leader in legal education, her expertise bridges both tradition and reform. Dean Soledad Mawis has guided generations of law students through the grueling bar examinations. What wisdom does she offer to thousands taking on the 2025 bar exams this week? A bar reviewer, a dean from the College of Law of Lyceum University, Dean Soledad Mawis. Good morning, Dean Sol.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Thank you for inviting me here.
And thank you for your time, Dean Sol.
Thank
so
you.
let's start with, first, today is the second day, and Sunday was the first day of the bar exams. And the third day and final day would be this coming Sunday. So what are your thoughts on compressing the bar exams into 3 days within a week? What were the pros and cons?
I think the best is really, it's no longer that very expensive, especially for those students who are based in the provinces. They are no longer required to go to Manila and take the bar exams since it has now been regionalized. Secondly, aside from the money aspect, you get your strength from your family. At least the distance will no longer be a problem because they can be given all the necessary support, emotional support from their family, as they did not they did not leave the comforts of their homes in the provinces.
So you're talking about at least what they changed in terms of decentralizing the bar exam. Because dati, they have to fly to Manila.
Exactly, and it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, and
especially
it's one whole month.
Yes.
It's 4 Sundays.
Yes, now because it's only technically one whole week, it's not going to be very expensive, unlike before.
Yes, and what are the cons of compressing it?
Of course, it's going to be very difficult because you have only how many, like for example, last Sunday, after taking the bar exam on a Sunday, you cannot just cry the whole day of Monday. You have to immediately pick up the pieces and move on because technically you have just 2 days to review for the next Wednesday exam. And that will be today is going to be civil law. And if I'm not mistaken, civil law and commercial law review, I think, no? So this
they usually go together.
They usually go, no. I think it's commercial law and labor. I stand corrected.
Okay.
It's civil law and labor. Imagine for 2 days, unlike before, you have one whole week. So that is the disadvantage. But actually, I don't see that as a disadvantage because technically speaking, you should have studied that when you're in 4th year.
Yeah, that's why they call it review, no?
Yes.
So that's what my dad would always tell me. You know, Karen, with the bar exams, it should be review, not preview.
Correct. Correct. That's very correct. And you should really take your 4th year seriously because that's already review. So yes, it was shortened. Yes, it's going to be very difficult to immediately pick up the pieces, especially if you did not have a very good feeling on the previous bar exam date. But still, it's really one of just making sure that you have studied the entire 4 years and you'll be okay.
Yeah, well, I took the New York bar exam as well, and that is also a 3-day exam. But it's one day after the other for all the exams. It's just 2 days na magkadikit. Magkasunod na araw. So and then the second day is includes federal law. So it's usually New York law for the whole day. And then the next day, meron siyang federal law. And then ang nakahiwalay lang na day, which would be, I think like a week after, is ethics.
See, so even based on your experience, when you took the New York bar exam, I really think it's really doable. I think there should be a shift now to, a mindset that actually review starts from 1st year and it will culminate with your 4th year, okay? So there is no need for you to have a long period of review of 6 months because technically you've already studied for 4 years.
And on that note, Dean Sol, meron bang efforts to compress law school? Because in the US, law degree is only 3 years.
Yes.
I'm not sure in other countries. I think it's even shorter. For common law
Yes.
countries, they start some of the subjects like when you're in your technically undergrad, because you get to choose which field you're going to be
Yes.
in. So to make it less costly for Filipinos, bakit hindi na lang going 3 years? Because like you said, the first 3 years are all your law subjects, and usually the fourth year is just a review. So hindi ba kaya na 3 years na lang?
Actually, it comes with the maturity. To me, I taught in a school wherein it was tri-semester. And so the graduates that went in first year were not the usual, I think, 21 years old. They're much younger, at least a year younger. When you have a 4-year course, the fact that you are already matured enough helps a lot. Instead of coming in when you are quite a bit younger, it's different. There is a difference. I sense a difference between a law student who is already of a certain age and a law student who is a bit younger.
So it's more
It's, to me,
efficient or
it's more efficient.
productive to be
True.
older.
And there is a commitment. When you're already reached a certain age, there's already a commitment for you to finish law school, really.
Well, we had more than 11,000 examinees on day one. And this has been the highest turnout ever so far
Yes.
for a bar exam.
Yes.
What does this record number say about the legal profession in the Philippines?
You know that 11,000, I think majority of them are multi-takers. And so what does that say? It says that perhaps there's a need for us to review what is happening in the law schools. How come there is a big number that could not even pass on the first take? So that must be reviewed and looked into, not only by the Legal Education Board, but also by the law schools. Why are there so many multi-takers?
And in other countries, they make the bar exam more strict or harder to pass because they don't want a country that has a lot of lawyers. Well, this is what I heard when it comes to, I think Japan is one of
they
those
have a quota
countries.
system, I think.
Korea as well. So sa atin ba, are we trying to encourage more people in the legal profession?
To my mind, there is always a need for new lawyers, okay? We are not trying to restrict the number of passers, but I think what the Supreme Court wants is to make sure that we have quality lawyers, okay? It's not just a number, it's really more of the quality of lawyers who can give quality service to the public. So it's really not making it difficult, but rather making sure that these lawyers are practice ready.
Just like doctors, we want
Yes.
doctors who are competent and qualified.
Correct.
Well, Dean, you've been a dean for many years. In your experience, may mga milestones ba sometimes sa country that influences also how many people enroll in law school? Because I remember there was a dean who told me before, and this was shortly after the impeachment, and she told me, nung nagkaroon ng impeachment trial ni Chief Justice Corona, nakita daw nila yung spike sa increase ng law students na nag-enroll.
I was about to make reference to that, especially I remember there were students who talked about you, who talked about the spokesperson, who talked about the proceedings, kasi napanood sa TV eh. And when they watched it, okay, they were inspired. It's more of being inspired when they saw the law in action. So yes, there are certain, and I think there might be a spike, especially now that what is happening in the country. I think there might be a spike again when it comes to the next batch of incoming freshmen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, dun sa bar exam ngayon, because of all the issues that we're facing, graft and corruption, with respect to the flood control projects, the impeachment, do you think these were made part of the bar exam this year? These types of questions?
Well, right now, based on what I've read, so far, no. It's more of really based on jurisprudence, basic. This bar is basic questions that should be the case, Hindi yung parang yung malalim, very complex, very basic questions just to test whether this student or the examinee is practice ready or not.
They've really changed the direction of the bar exam, because during my parents' time, they were saying that sometimes the questions can be so obscure that
Yes.
in one of the famous bar exam questions, yung sagot mahanap mo sa footnote ng
Yes.
isang commentary
Yes.
book on
Yes.
law.
Yes.
And during my time, we did get also some obscure questions about local government taxes. So like, parang may mga ganun sinisingit. But the direction now is to veer away from
Yes.
obscure questions.
And I would like to, I would like to maybe thank PALS for that, the Philippine Association of Law Schools, and of course the Supreme Court, because we've always been very consistent with our request that it should be, the question should be for the level of incoming first-year practitioners. It cannot be, very complex, no? It has to test what they know, so it must be practice ready. First level entry kung tawagin, no? Hindi pwede yung you assume that they know this, the answer for this, when even a 5-year practitioner cannot even answer it. That will be very unfair. And right now, based on what I have seen so far, the questions are for those who are about to enter the practice, at least entry-level practitioners. So that's going to be fair.
And Dean, what's your take on the top 10 sa bar? I mean, in other countries, like even for me, when I took the New York bar exam, you'll get a notice that you passed the bar exam, pero wala silang top 10. And here, it's always like a grand occasion. People are waiting to see the top 10. Tapos, meron pang, yung iba nagpapatarpaulin pa. But in the past years, I've also noticed they've even increased the announcement to the top 20,
Yes.
which wasn't the case before. Dati talagang top 10 lang.
Okay.
So, what's the reason for that?
Okay, my answer is I am a person who is not a bar top-notcher. So mine has no, it's unbiased. Do I like to have a top 10 or a top 20? Yes. Because it gives a student something to aspire for. I mean, let's give it that, and give due recognition. Let's give due recognition for those who really did well. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if they did well, then let's give due recognition. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're top 10, automatically you will be very good in practice. There's no correlation whatsoever. Or if you did not become part of the top 10, it does not mean that you cannot be the best lawyer in your field. No, it's just for that moment. Okay? You just got the high grade, and that's it. And let's give due recognition to those people who really studied very well.
And you don't think it fosters this competition among law schools? Kasi yun yung
it
lagi nila
does.
tinitignan. Ilan ang nakuha ng UP or Ateneo sa top 10 or other schools. Yeah.
It really does. But to me, as I said, giving due recognition to the best, there is nothing wrong with it. Okay?
Maraming first-time takers
Naman,
for this
yes,
bar exam.
yes.
There's about 5,214.
Yes.
How do law schools prepare them differently from retakers? Because you also mentioned
Yes.
a big number of retakers.
Well, the preparation always starts from first year. Okay? And then now, some law schools, because graduation is something, most of the law schools, if I'm not mistaken, almost all of the law schools, they start their school year in August. So if you count, it is mga May or June, they will have their graduation. So how many months to review? Just 2-3 months. So what they do is some law schools give a bridge program, okay, where they just assist or, give lectures for free to their examinees. So that's one way of helping them. And of course, the student population, the bar ops committee, okay, they start early, and that's one way of helping also the examinees to prepare for the bar.
And as a dean, how do you help your students balance the painstaking studying that goes with law school and their mental health?
Okay, you have to talk to them. Maybe the advantage of having a medium-sized law school, we can have a one-to-one discussions with the examinee, and that helps a lot. Secondly, the professors, okay, we have the mentoring system where the professors, after the student graduated, for example, they will have to mentor them. And it's not teaching them the rudiments of the law. It's really being able to tell them that, look, we're here. Do you have any concerns? And we discuss those concerns.
Well, with right now 6,673 women taking the bar exams, this is more than half
Yes.
of the examinees. Does this reflect a gender balance shift towards women?
Well, yes, and at the same time, it's a recognition that I guess the women are more persevering, okay, and it's women power at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, nagbago talaga
Yes,
because during
yes,
my dad's time, it was more than half. I think
yes.
70% men in this profession or even among the law
And I'm
students.
very happy that women are empowered, to do things that are not the traditional, profession for women. So it's a very good, I think it's a reflection of the changing times, no? That women should be given due recognition too in the society. Yeah.
Dean Sol, what about senior citizens also taking the bar exams? We heard that meron pang nagba-bar exam na ages up to 80 years
Yes.
old. How are they dealt with in terms of the preparation and the exam days?
Okay, I'll answer that with a story. In our school, I had this student who who went to law school at age 56. And then I asked, why only now? Why 56? She said, because during the time when she was young, her father did not allow her to take law school for the simple reason that she is a girl.
Oh, wow.
Yes, for simple reasons she's a girl. And after she married, okay, and then she had her grandchildren, when everything else seems to be okay, she pursued her dream. Then at age 61, she passed. She graduated. So I asked her, will you take the bar? She said, no. I said, why will you not take the bar? Because I'm old, secondly, memory might be failing me, etc. So I said, no. You have come this far, you might as well really make your dream a reality. Then she took it. She passed one take. So what does that mean? It really takes so much for the senior citizens, okay, to prepare for the bar. It's not only, it's not only time, they think that they're not good anymore because their memory is failing. But you just have to push them, I'll guide them to make them believe in themselves again, and they will make it.
Well, physically, it's also rigorous. It's a whole
Yes,
day test.
yes.
So,
But
meron bang concerns about, any health issues?
no naman, because I think the one that would really be I think the 4-year preparation or even the 5 or 6 year preparation for them in law school would have subjected them to severe mental anguish, and then when they are about to take the bar, kaya na nila. Yeah.
What about changing the system from handwritten exams to now computerized
I think
exams?
that's good. I think that's a very good shift because some of during my time, according to some of my classmates, they felt that they did not make it to the bar simply because of their handwriting.
Yeah, my handwriting is terrible
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, so
Kahit nag-effort akong gandahan, pangit talaga.
yeah. So I think it's very good that it's now, you can use your computer.
Well, a lot of the changes that were done for the bar exam have made it more convenient
Yes.
for students.
Yes.
Do you feel that this also makes the students more spoiled, the examinees, compared to what we went through during our generation? And during my parents' generation, mas mahirap pa, fountain pen pa yung required.
Yes. Naabutan ko yun.
Yeah. So, parang ngayon padali na ng padali. And of course, it's good. It's good for the
Yes.
examinees. But for some of the old school lawyers, sabi nila, parang spoiled na yung mga batang nag-exam ngayon.
Okay.
Kasi yung dami, like, less days, and then computerized pa, and then I think there's an effort nga to make it also more basic compared to the obscurity of some of the questions that we had to undergo before.
No, I don't think it is, we have to adapt to changes. That's number one. And if this change if there are, if we can adapt to change, much better for all of us. I remember during that time that, my classmates and I were even thinking, how can we acquire or buy fountain pens when we do not have enough money to even buy, the basic needs for law school? But ngayon, parang everybody gets to adapt. And if we're talking about, the lawyers feeling entitled, because what's given to them now is, what's being given to them are easily, within the reach. I think it's more of the preparation inside the law school. While they're students, sometimes I must admit there is now a change. Unlike before, when you do your recitation inside the classroom, the teacher will call you names, the teacher will even curse you in front of your
Yeah,
classmates,
I agree.
and
Yeah.
you just smile.
Mm-mm.
But now, no, we just can't do that because teachers now recognize that there is this thing called mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to adapt because, again, it's a recognition of the changing times.
Do you feel like it makes the students less tough once they become lawyers? Parang it's not just the study rigor, but the emotional ability to cope with adversity.
Well, to a certain extent, yes. Unlike before, when I remember my classmate, the teacher got so mad at him. But after the very bad recitation, we all laughed. Now, no. They really cry. Okay, they really cry. And it affects them internally. Okay. And maybe that's the reason why, there is a shift now. Unlike before that we put our professors on a pedestal, para bang they are the source of all knowledge. Now, the shift is to make the student the universe. Okay? It's no longer student teacher. We're just facilitators. Okay? There's the thing about, teaching also our students empathy and ask to be empathetic too. Is it good? Well, there are pros and cons. Does it make a person tougher? Maybe not. Maybe yes. But really, it's more of now, it's more of making the student a human being. Do we have to really subject the student to mental anguish or public humiliation? Maybe yes. I truly believe you should,
Yeah,
no?
because supposedly that's also to help
yes,
us prepare for trial
yes,
courts. Like,
correct,
because some
correct.
judges are very tough
Kaya,
on
kaya lang
the
kasi
litigators.
minsan, sobra na eh. You know what I mean? There are certain, maybe, during my time, you don't even have to call the student names. You can be tough, you can be firm, you can teach them, that X factor without naman disparaging the internal being of, treat them like a human being. It's as simple as that.
But
Yeah.
sayang lang, ako yung nangihinayang lang ako because of what you said, yung adversity quotient that you gain from a tough experience. Because
Yes.
I had Justice Leonen as one of my professors
Yeah.
in law school. And naninigaw talaga siya.
Yeah.
Yung sigaw na masistress ka talaga.
Yeah.
And but looking back, my friends and I from law school, when we now talk about those times, tumatawa kami. It was, stressful at the time, but, to go through that, it toughens you up eh. So
It does.
I
It
hope
really
the
does.
kids now or the younger students are not missing out from, developing that type of...
Yeah, for example, in my case, no, I might appear motherly, but I am not that kind. In a sense that if you will fail, if because of your performance, I will really fail you. And that's part of it. Okay? That's one way of making sure that the student will give value to studying. Hindi pwede yung okay lang. What I cannot accept is when the student says, "Ma'am, I have not read the case."
Yeah, me too.
Oh
Umiinit
my
talaga
God.
ulo ko pag gano'n.
But then you go to
Yeah.
class prepared and then the student will tell you, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have not read the case." How can you not read the case when it was given to you a week before? And how can you be a lawyer when you can't go to court not prepared, right? Doon ako naiinis talaga.
Well, now that there's also ChatGPT
Yeah.
and other AI
yes.
tools, and even it's so easy to create your own law digest, because you just cut and paste. Whereas
Yes.
during our time, we really rely
Right.
on photocopies, and then we have to
Right.
write everything. Do you find that among your students, there's also kind of like less mental rigor, or does that affect how they prepare and study?
Everything now is accessible. Even the digest itself, okay, is already posted on the net. All they have to do is print. But I always tell my students, there is no way you can shortcut the study of law. There is no shortcut from being great. Now, if you want to do shortcuts, then it will not give you that, that necessary tool for you to be great. Kasi ang alam mo lang lahat shortcut eh. Unlike us, during our time, it was really, and I think when you develop this issue of yung spotting the issue, okay, you want to spot the issue, you have to read through the case.
Yeah.
But if you will just download a digest from the net, how can you spot the issue when the issue has already been spotted for you? So that was what I was telling. That's always what I tell my students. There is no shortcut to greatness. You want to be great, well, you have to do it the long way.
This year's chair for the bar exams
Yes.
is Justice Amy Lazaro Javier.
Yes.
What have you heard is her focus? Because normally, if you have a chair for the bar exams, their specialty, whatever type of law it is, becomes, I suppose, like the hardest bar exam, or meron silang certain styles then that reflects in the bar exam, even the bar examiners that they choose. What can you say about Justice Amy Javier?
Based on the first political law exam, I think, based personally, I think it's more of she was able to show through political law her experience as a Solicitor General. The, number two, it also gave us, she was also able to show that she is, to begin with, a professor of law. The questions are short, straight to the point. The question itself, no, aside from the facts, the question itself, direct, very concise. So you know that Justice Amy, when she prepared all these questions, or at least got somebody to prepare the questions for her, okay, it is the heart of a teacher that came out at the end of the day. And she is so motherly, really so motherly. You know what really made me smile during the first Sunday is that when she said she already reserved the biggest place or venue for the oath taking.
Oh, wow. So that means she will be more lenient in terms of assessing the exam scores?
Yes, I think she has her own rubrics to make sure that she will be able to have, hopefully, a higher passing average. She kept on repeating, I am not here to fail you, I'm here to help you pass.
Wow, very motherly
very,
talaga.
very motherly.
What do you expect would be the hardest bar exam subject for this year?
Remedial law.
Remedial law, because of Justice Amy's background?
Yes, I think so. And she's good in REM. Okay? And as always,
Of course,
naman,
as a
always,
Solicitor General
Yes.
before.
Yes,
Yeah.
and always remedial law is the toughest because that's the last exam, and it's the highest percentage.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be REM.
Do you think the bar exam should remain to be a once-a-year event, or should we shift to making it twice a year?
Once a year, enough. It stresses the dean. I'm sure your mother too is so stressed during this period of time, because whenever there's a bar exam, the deans, okay, especially the deans, they are the ones who are actually taking the exam. Each and every student, karga nila yun internally eh. It's karga nila
Kaya
yun
pala yung
internally.
mom ko, as also an associate dean, she gets very stressed, and pagka mababa yung passing rate,
Yes.
na-affect din siya
Of
emotionally.
course, and you have to pray for all of them. It's like having so many children, okay? And then you have to ask how they are. You have to ask, paano ka nag-aral? So when you see them walk and when you see them enter the testing site, parang bang a part of you is with them. And when the results are out, oh my golly, that's the worst. Happy, sad, happy, sad, happy, sad. It's like a pendulum of feelings. So it's for me, only because of that, I just want the bar exam to be once a year.
Kasi yung
For my own
emotion.
mental health.
Well, what about yung sa mga nakikita mong among the students that you've handled as a dean? Ano yung pinakamarami ng times na nag-take ng bar in your experience na nakita mo po?
There was one student who told me na naka-7 times siya.
7 times. Because
7
after the
times.
third fail, you have to
To go
retake
back,
one
to
more
fourth
year.
year.
Yeah.
And then you fail again, you have to go back.
So, itong
ang
taong to
tagal.
twice na umulit ng 1 year sa law school.
So,
Kung pang
3,
7th yan na.
yeah,
Kasi
3,
3.
yes,
So,
you
after the
go
third
back,
year, balik siya ng 1
balik,
year. And then,
tapos
after
failed.
the third year
Yeah.
ulit na is, pang-AO.
Yeah, yeah. So it's basically 3 years, went back to law school, took it, did not make it, went back to law school, took it, he passed. So there were 5 times took it.
5 times at
Yeah.
7 years. Grabe. Then sana nag-engineering na
just-
siya or ibang profession. But that's still a very inspiring
Yeah,
story
it's a
of
very
perseverance.
perseverance, correct. So when he passed, I remember he went to me and we really hugged each other. Kasi parang feeling, oh my God, finally, he passed and he's now a lawyer.
And given, well, right now, lilihis po tayo because we have a few minutes left. But given what's going on in the country, and you mentioned you're expecting to see potentially a spike because
Yeah.
of all these investigations in Congress and Senate for the flood control projects, and then also the impeachment of Vice President Sara that went all the way up to the Supreme Court. Well, we want to pick your brain on those issues. One on the investigation on flood control issues. How do you think, how credible are the proceedings so far?
Well, credibility, as long as there are people who are part of the investigating committee and who were already mentioned that could be potentially also part of this corruption, I think it will be more credible if these people will be taken out from the committee, or at the very least, if they resign. Okay? Because we want the committee to be a neutral committee, one that will not be influenced by bias, okay, or personal agenda. So it would be best for us to have a credible committee. And when I say credible, hopefully those people who were named will resign from the committee out of delicadeza. I'm not even saying, resignation because you are guilty. No, no, no. Out of delicadeza. Like for example, in a courtroom, di ba? The judge, even if there's no basis, out of delicadeza, will voluntarily inhibit himself just to ensure that the proceedings will not be tainted, by any questions pertaining to credibility.
Well, the statement of the witnesses so far are resource persons.
Yeah.
How do you assess the credibility of those?
Well, like any witness in court, the witness should be credible. Not only the credibility is not only with respect to what he is saying, but also as to the person himself. So of course, I will have to take it with a grain of salt. You cannot just simply take whatever they're saying as Bible truth, because are they credible enough to begin with? Or is it coming from a polluted source? So all of these things should be put to a test. There should be corroborative evidence to test the credibility of the person and the credibility of the statements.
Well, what about the issue of not having a paper trail when it comes to politicians receiving a share from the project?
When you commit a crime, you don't leave a paper trail. But I think if there is no paper trail, there will be pieces of evidence, and I do not know what exactly. It can be testimonial, it can be object evidence, okay, where you can have basis to say that this person is guilty. It's like also going to court. Sometimes you don't have paper trail because it's a crime. It's very seldom that, a criminal will leave, a paper trail to make sure, just to make sure that, it's not going to be very easy for him to be held criminally liable. So to my mind, that is expected. So we have to make sure that there are other pieces of evidence later on that might be discovered that would lead, this criminal activity to this particular person.
Well, short of having documentary evidence, would testimonial evidence be sufficient?
Yes. Yes, corroborate. In fact, in law, di ba? Even if you're talking about circumstantial evidence, remember that circumstantial evidence can convict. In the same way, if we have circumstantial evidence that would, if you consider it, would lead and establish to the credibility, to the culpability of this person, I think that will be good.
And just fresh from yesterday's hearing in Congress, we had the names of Senators Jinggoy Estrada, Joel Villanueva, and in Senate, the names of Speaker Martin Romualdez and Zaldico being mentioned. What do you think would be the impact of this controversy on these
You know,
members of Congress?
consistent with what I said earlier, if they want to uphold the credibility of the investigation, just to avoid any questions of, the proceedings being tainted, I think they should resign as members of the committee, okay, out of delicadeza.
And finally, the change in leadership. We have a new Senate President,
Yeah.
Senator Tito Soto, and Senator Panfilo Lacson is now the chairman of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Both are seasoned politicians, seasoned lawmakers, but they're not lawyers. So how do you think this would affect, one, for Senate President Tito Soto, the way an impeachment might be handled should another impeachment complaint be filed against Vice President Sara? And with respect to the Blue Ribbon Committee, with the way Senator Ping would be able to handle that investigation?
They are not lawyers, but they have, I'm very sure, a group of lawyers who will assist them. Secondly, the nice thing about these two gentlemen, they have years of experience, which cannot be taken lightly. I will reserve my final opinion on them. Wait and see. Let's see what they will do, and then perhaps ayoko lang unahan. I want to still have faith in the system, and hopefully they will be able to act accordingly, backed by experience and with a sense of justice and truth.
Okay, that's very good to hear. And finally, what is your outlook on this whole investigation on the flood control scandal? Are you optimistic about it, that merong magkaka-accountability?
I have no choice. I have to be optimistic. Because if I have no optimism left, then what's the point of listening to these congressional hearings? But these congressional hearings should have an output. And if they will be able to establish that there are certain people, okay, who can be held accountable, then let the axe fall on them. Then let cases be filed. Let these people prove also that they are not liable at all. And at the very least, something must come out with this investigation. Hindi lang to parang pinanood lang natin sa TV.
Oo nga, parang telenovela pa naman every time so far.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dean Sol Mawis. I hope we can have you next here again on issues. Kasi alam ko, bar exam yung topic, pero I couldn't resist asking you about current events.
And thank you very much for giving me this opportunity again, and please send my regards to your lovely mother.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
We'll have a late bloomer of a lawyer when we return after a short break.